welcome back to Rue's Life. So here I am in the shed. It's getting on to the tail end, middle to end of September, and I'm really pleased that we are getting some really good weather. It's been warm. The temperatures are dropping a little at night, but we're still staying in double figures, which is great for the vegetable garden, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to extend the season as I'd hoped. So today I'm going to give you a tour of the polytunnel and the plot, and I'll show you where I'm up to. So let's start here in the polytunnel. So the chard here is really coming to the end now. It's starting to bolt. There's a few more leaves that I can harvest, but I will be pulling that out soon. We've got a gap here where I had all the leafy greens, which we've really enjoyed, but they've come to an end. And just here is where I had the onion, the Red Baron that I sowed from seed, and I'll show those to you in a little while. Here we've got the parsnips, which are doing brilliantly, and I think what I'm going to do is get those harvested and frozen, and then we've got those. There may be time to germinate some more if the weather stays warm, but you know how parsnips can be, so I'll have a little think about that. And then moving along, here we've got the basil, which again, it's pretty much coming to an end now. So I will just pull that up and take any leaves that are worth saving and using. And then I will either chop them and freeze them or dry them. And then up on the staging here, I've got some leek seedlings which are desperate to get out of these pots and trays and into the ground, so that's a job I need to do. This is a little spider plant that I've had given to me by one of my sisters, and a couple of, this is a squash plant that never got into the ground, and this is another plant that my sister gave to me, and I'll actually be seeing her this week, and I need her to remind me what it is, because I can't remember, and then I'll pop a little label in it. Down here we've got the rest of the potatoes that I haven't harvested yet. They will be harvested, parboiled and frozen. Here we've got, now these are the onions that I grew from seed, and you can see they're really quite small. So what I'm actually going to do with those is treat them as sets and pop them back in either to a bed here in the polytunnel or outside. I haven't decided yet, but that is the plan for those. You know, these are really sort of set sized. Some of them are a little bigger, but I'm going to get those back in because they're not really worth anything as they are. As I've said on many occasions, I don't have a huge amount of success growing onion from seed. I generally grow them from sets. And then talking of onions grown from set, here are some of this year's harvest. As you can see, they're really decent onions. There were more here. I've been eating them. I'm going to process these. Again, they're going to be chopped and frozen. And there are some more, if I just move you around here, which again, I've just been curing here in the polytunnel, but they're all going to be chopped and frozen. And then just the last thing on this staging here, these are just some peas that actually dried on the plant, and I'm going to save those for sowing again. Then moving into the corner, again talking of peas, these are the peas which are just starting to flower, so I'm hoping to get some more from the last of the pea plants that I sowed. This is all getting a bit jungly in here now. The tomatoes are going absolutely bananas, and if I just move in, you can see I've still got lots of green tomatoes. There's a few ripened. These are a plum variety. These I think are, I can't remember, Golden Sunrise possibly. In here we've got some more of the yellow variety of tomato, and there's quite, a bit blurry there, there's quite a lot on the vines. You can see the golden yellow pear there, and then I'll move you back out of the jungle and around. And we've got some more of the big beefsteak type tomato here. So I'm just leaving those to do their thing. They have gone a little wild. I've been really busy with one thing or another, and I hadn't kept on top of sort of chopping out some of the foliage. But we've got tomatoes, and again, the plan with those is to chop and freeze. Or if I do make sauces, I will be freezing them. And then down here we've got the chilli plant, which I actually need to move because it's so overcrowded. And you can see we've got some decent chilies. I mean, that one's an absolute whopper. But there's a few chilies formed there, which again will be chopped and frozen. And then moving along, in this bed at the back I had the lettuces that I grew for the chickens, but they're all finished now. The chickens have really enjoyed them, and I have had a few sneaky leaves myself for salads. These are the multicoloured carrots, and we've actually been harvesting those and enjoying them, and they're really tasty, really sweet. Then moving along to the courgettes, which finally took off, and we've really been enjoying harvesting and eating those. The cucumber plant is starting to die back now, but there are still some cucumber plants on the vine, and again we've had a really good harvest. We've been picking and eating those, and they've been really, really tasty. I can't remember what variety these were. I will check back. I've enjoyed them, but they've had a tougher skin. These are ones that we've had to peel, so I think I'm going to go back to the variety I've grown in the past with a thinner skin, so they don't need to be peeled. Here we've got carrots still, and again, you know, there's some really big fat juicy carrots here, and we've just been pulling them and using them in meals, and they're really, really tasty. These are the aubergine plants, which I really don't think are going to come to anything. They've just kind of been sitting like this and flowering, but no fruits have formed, and they haven't grown particularly large. But I'll have another go at aubergine next year and see how we go. So that is the polytunnel at the moment. As I say, a little jungle-like, but lots to like, lots going on. And I've had a really good season despite a slow start. So if we just go back through the polytunnel and out of the other end, the rhubarb, which I was going to harvest before the end of August, we're now coming to the end of September. I am going to get that done. So I'm going to have a day harvesting and processing, and I will film that. I'll probably split that into two videos, one harvesting and one processing, but I will get that done. And then down here, this is the most recent bed that I created. The raspberries are really looking good now, and as I say, they are the autumn fruiting variety, but they were new plants to me this year, so hopefully next year at this time I'll be getting some harvests from those. We've been picking and enjoying the kale. I had a really good harvest of the cauliflower, and the sprouts are doing really well too. Then in this bed we've got the celery, which has been a bit slow, but I'm going to keep it where it is and enjoy it. I did that with last year. I overwintered it, and we enjoyed eating it all through the winter months. And we've still got lots of the California poppy and the calendula, and they just look so pretty. Down at the far end are those tomato plants that I just chucked in, and there's been a couple of tomatoes on them, but they haven't really done much. I never put supports on them, and I haven't really given them enough attention, but there's been a few tomatoes from them, and more than I would have had if I'd have just you know, junked those plants and put them on the compost heap. So we'll just go past Ollie Owl, who's done a superb job of keeping the pigeons away. I did plan to actually move him around, but we put him here, and as I say, you've probably seen before, he's got this swivelly head, and just sitting where he is does seem to have deterred the pigeons, so that's great. The sweet corn here, I ended up just with the 2 plants, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's 5 corn there, which are really ready to harvest now, so I will be getting those in as well. And then moving down to where I've had the peas and the beans. So the peas are finished now, it's just the sticks left, but we've had some really good harvests from those. The beans have been really disappointing this year after multiple sowings and multiple losses. Just 3 plants survived, and you can see there are beans. These are Bolotto, and I'm letting them dry on the plant. And then what I will do is just save those as seeds for next year. I had such a success with them in the polytunnel that I think next year I'm going to go back to growing the beans in the polytunnel because they've just not done very well this year. The losses were pretty much in the seedling stage. I started them in the polytunnel and they were really good, healthy plants, but the combination of slugs and pigeons, which I don't obviously have an issue with in the polytunnel. So I think some of the plants that I've done well historically in the polytunnel, I'm going to stick to growing in the polytunnel. And then more of the beautiful calendula. And then we'll move on to the squash bed. So as those of you that have been following me will know, these have been grown on much later than I planned, but they're really romping away now and climbing up this frame beautifully. I'm still not sure there's going to be enough time for these little squash to grow and set, but I'm leaving them where they are because they've got a better chance if I just leave them. And if this warmer weather continues and the temperature doesn't get too cold, they are in with a chance. And if I just keep moving around this corner, dun, 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 you can see there's an example. We have got some squash that are looking quite good. So I'm hopeful that we may get a small harvest. If we just go from this side, with all these leaves, it's hard. You can see, if I just go, there's another squash at that side. I don't know if you can see, if I point just there. So there are a few of the fruits that are larger. And as I say, that they're not doing any harm. Here's another one looking really quite good. So they might as well stay as they are, and I'll give them a chance. The nematodes made a massive difference to this bed. I had awful trouble getting hold of the nematodes, so I watered them in later than I wanted to. And of course there's a window. It's not as though you can order the nematodes early, because once you receive them you have to use them within a time period. So I will, going forwards, I've had some advice from a couple of you lovely viewers, and I've got a good plan for how I'm going to use those next year, earlier in the season. And then just moving along to this beautiful Rudbeckia, one of my absolute favourites. And this was a gift to me from one of my sisters. She came for a visit and she brought this, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's not looking its best now, it's coming to an end, but it's been absolutely delightful. So all in all, things are looking good for this time of the year, and I'm really, really pleased with how the growing season has turned out. So that's the end of my plot and polytunnel tour. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below how you're getting on and how your growing season's turned out. All in all, I've had a brilliant season. We've had some fabulous harvests. There's still lots to harvest, and I'm really pleased with the way things have turned out. So I hope you're all well. I hope you're all enjoying your growing. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon.